Okay, sorry about that little delay there. As a courtesy, I've muted all of your lines. We will have a Q&A session at the end. Please feel free to use the chat function along the way. I always try to keep a close eye on that, and this session is being recorded. So a preview of what we're going to do today. First, some food for thought, just some different observations I've had in my travels around various dealerships. Some basic Excel tips, which is at the heart of the session today. Go through that. I'm actually going to do a demo, and we'll build just a mini campaign or a series of mini campaigns and see how ridiculously easy it is once you get your touchdown. And then we'll look at going from the manifest to Excel and how to organize a converted manifest so that folks can work those right at their desktop or a paper printed copy right at their desk. And then just some other stuff to consider really when it comes to building campaigns and implementing campaigns. So let's get started with food for thought. I guess mostly in the form of questions. The first one I have is I talk about this all the time, and I talk a lot about the monthly work cycle. But my question to you, if you're an individual operation or a multi-person BDC sales or service, this applies to both sides of the house. Do you consistently work the 3 swim lanes each month? And the 3 swim lanes that we look at are the inbound leads, coming in, digital inbound leads, dealer maintenance notification, internet request on the service side. How well do they work? Do you work those? GM manifests. Do you have a process, a real consistent process for working on those manifests? I see in some cases there, particular people are assigned to particular manifests. They're divided. In some cases, I'm pretty sure this person's working on or that department's working on. So it's really a good idea to get knowledgeable about what's available out there and then make sure we have the right people handling those in a very process-oriented manner. And then finally, the self-generated campaigns, which really the bulk of my work focuses on, is going out there and trying to turn over every rock possible to dig deep and see where we can find, customers who are in market, in equity, likely to buy, and do all we can to entice them to come in and join our dealership for a visit, test drive, etc. And again, the question I'd leave you with on that first point is how strong are your processes for each swim lane? The next question is, do you have a resident expert, and is that resident expert proficient at Excel with a desktop copy of Excel? You probably look at that and say, well, that's ludicrous. Why would you have to ask that? But there, believe it or not, are still several dealerships where we have folks who are involved in campaigns, and they do not have Excel on the desktop, and we have to scramble to work it. It's just such a vital aspect of building these campaigns. And then a question two is, does the BDC manager or a key player from each BDC attend the Philadelphia zone start of the month calls? That's a great thing. Get with your general manager, your sales manager. If you don't participate, at least have them share the incentives. Bill Fleck, our zone manager, and his team, the district managers, get together and they put together a good presentation that covers the monthly incentives early in the month. And the next one is on Wednesday, May 2nd at 10 a.m. For you BDC managers out there, I really encourage you to try to be part of that. If not, just get a good outbrief once it's over. And then a question that I feel I'm compelled to ask is, are you aware of and are proficient at the tools you have at your disposal? It really is surprising in some cases that dealerships are paying for all kinds of bells and whistles, different tools, and folks aren't aware of what they have out there. In some cases is duplication, but really the key point is the proficiency. Once your dealer operator is invested in a tool, are we proficient at using that tool or those tools? So, CRM is the obvious one. There's all kinds of makes out there. We see them all, but the question is, do you know what you have, how to use it? Do you know how to build can you drop a spreadsheet in? Can you do an email blast from it? Is there a text function within that? and so on and so forth. The equity mining tools. Are we maximizing the use of those equity mining tools? I was in a dealer last week, and we had the double screen going, and we brought up a campaign that we built, and on the other screen we had the equity tool up. And before each phone call, the BDC rep could look at where that customer was at in terms of balance, monthly payment, etc. They knew their in-market situation and had a general script planned. That makes for a really strong and meaningful voice message or phone conversation. And there's a bunch of other examples. And I always say to folks that you for a change need to become the customer and be a demanding customer to your vendors who you're paying an awful lot of money to for a particular service. If we're vague or unclear on how to use it, we should demand the appropriate training or guidance to make sure you're maximizing the effectiveness. Another quick question: does sophistication prevent you from taking action on a campaign? I think sometimes people get static and they almost freeze because they look at something like eStrike or a desktop, or pardon me, a CRM tool that they're not real familiar with. But we pulled merely 120 names of Silverado owners who look like they're ready to buy. Well, of those 120, we had 78 emails, probably 65 or 70 of those are good emails. I mean, you can do such a simple, you have such a simple way of doing an email blast right from your desktop through Microsoft Outlook. You can just do the commas, the semicolon, put it in blind copy, undisclosed recipients, insert some good graphics, a quick message, maybe a video, and you'll be in really great shape. We'll try again soon. Okay, we just somebody was informed me they're unable to call in right now. That's okay. Okay, so again, sometimes just the basics is the way to go when it comes to reaching out to customers. We're talking about 2,000 customers. That's one thing, but I just worked with somebody. We built, I think, Silverado, Equinox, and Colorado campaigns. Probably had 50, 60 names on the Colorado, 150 names on the Silverado, and about 100 on the Equinox. And I mean, this was a real fine-tuned campaign, real focused. That should be a real easy email blast to put together, and you have plenty of content to work with if you go into showroom and all the playbook information you have in Global Connect. And then finally, just a very quick couple of war stories. I mean, in terms of phone calls, it was very refreshing. I was in a dealer in Southern Jersey last week or the week before, and the young lady who's the BDC manager in there looked at me and said, but I like making phone calls, and I was like, well, that's great to hear. She enjoys it. So we put together some pretty good stuff, and she has two young people working part-time helping her out, and they really go at the phone calls with a lot of passion. They really plan when they're leaving a message, and they also plan, if in fact the customer eventually picks up. They also plan the sequence, how many messages and so on. I think they were trained from Proactive Dealer Solutions on that sequence. In any case, making those phone calls is a really important part of it. You got to get real good at it. I told this story recently. My son-in-law's mom, so my daughter's mother-in-law, bought a brand, an enemy brand. I forgave her for that, but the person from the dealership called her and left 2, 3, or 4 voice messages with a progressive message and said things like, "Hi Diane, this is so-and-so over a blank Ford. We're really interested in your vehicle. We need your vehicle for our inventory, and we really think we can give you a good trade." Just continued with that kind of messaging to where finally she just went over and she called the guy up and checked in. Now, also a very important point was that she said this young man, since she bought the car, I think 3 or 4 years ago, has always, did the birthday card, keeps in touch, makes sure he's aware when she's coming in for service, all those kinds of things. So this is a woman who otherwise wasn't planning on buying a car, but apparently was in market, and due to a compelling sequence of phone calls, was convinced to come in, get the car appraised, and take a test drive. And 2 or 3 hours later, she walked out with a new vehicle. So just something to think about as you go forward. Okay, so let's get into the Excel part of the thing, basic Excel tips. So again, I'll ask those two key questions. Do you have Excel loaded on your desktop, and are you proficient at using it? Those are the key questions with this. So what I'm going to do is just go over a few key skills to consider, and if there's something else you're curious about, just type it in chat and I'll try to demo it. I joke around a lot about this. I am a 64-year-old man working Excel. I've picked up some pretty good skills, mostly from you out on the streets, but I'll do my best I realize there's probably some more sophisticated techniques, but what I'm about to show you, it will get you through. You can pull the spreadsheet via GM Global Connect and get it set up. So setting up the spreadsheet, inserting and deleting columns and rows, filtering data in a spreadsheet, sorting data in a spreadsheet, left to right technique, and then formatting the spreadsheet. So I'm going to jump out of this and get us into a spreadsheet. So here is a basic Excel spreadsheet, which you all are familiar with. You just obviously open Excel, and I'm getting probably too basic here for some folks, but it's really as simple as, let's just mimic playbook, which is listed. It goes by, believe it or not, it's alphabetized by first name for some reason, which works fine. And then, just to, you can just literally do this. I know most of you got this, and da 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 da. You see the deal, and then you can fill it in and work it from there. So what I've done is taken that same mentality and I've pre-populated a spreadsheet. In this case, mimicking playbook data, and I'm also going to use a hot list in a few minutes to what it looks like. So this is all fictional data that I just threw together. And there's a couple things to look at on this. By the way, I meant to show you just one technique that let me just see here, state, and then we can go with let me put this simple technique right here. You highlight and double click between A and B, and it spreads your columns to the space that you need. There's several ways of doing that. As you know, these are the columns, these are the rows. So let's just take a look at this. So setting up, you just obviously open up Excel. You should obviously save it to your desktop, give it a name. And with the rapid pace that you have, I notice a lot of you build monthly folders and so on, and and build from there. And that's very smart when it comes to naming them. April 2018, equity campaign or playbook campaign, whatever the case is. So let's look at inserting and deleting columns and rows. So if I went over here and I added a new row, new column rather, and then I just put various information in there along the way. You can do it like that, and then you could hit here. Just follow me along. And this is being taped, so you can come back later and look at it, and simply highlight the row with the letter at the top and hit delete, and it goes away. If you wanted to insert one, just highlight that, and it opens up a new column to the right. And then if you want to insert a row, you just click insert and it inserts a row. I mean, this is really fundamental, I realize, but there are folks that I've run into who aren't aware of these basics. So here I go again. I just deleted that row, and now I'm deleting this particular column. Okay, now filtering. Let's take a look at that. And I'm going to simultaneously show you how to filter and sort, and also demo the left to right technique that we use in several dealerships. I would guess that there's probably 25 to 35 dealers in our zone who use this religiously. So you download the basic information. In this case, let's just say playbook, the most current playbook. Now what we want to do is that's everybody who, as you know, is bought from your dealership and still owns the vehicle. They either bought certified, over here that's the vehicle status, bought certified, still retained, bought new, still retained, or bought used, still retained. That's what that's about. That just helps with the word tracking. It's good to have knowledge of that. So let's start off. So we have the basic premise of the playbook, and this doesn't include I think Playbook has 36 columns on it, so obviously we have like 12 or 13 here. First thing you do is highlight your headings row, and then you go to data at the top. Now you can also go over here to the right to sort and filter, or data. I'll just go here for this demo. You click on filter, and then you'll notice you get those drop down arrows. So the campaign that I'm going to throw together right now, I call it campaign just a list. And remember, this is limited. I don't think I have but 30 or 40 names on there. So when you click that drop down arrow on the particular heading, it'll have everything that's available and checked off. Whatever you keep checked obviously will appear. So I'm going to get rid of owners of the 18, 17, and 16 Silverado, just assuming they're probably not ready. We'll just focus on that particular vehicle. As I mentioned, we'll go Silverado. So again, we hit the model, and those are all the models that I fictitiously included. Uncheck all of them, then go back and check the model you want, and then hit that. And if you notice down in the bottom left, you can see the number that remain. And then I'll do a follow-up priority of A, that's the highest priority, most likely to be. They're all good A, Bs, and Cs. And in this very small sampling, we've just created a very simple Silverado campaign. Now the left to right technique, what we do here is we highlight, then we copy, and I know you can hide columns, and a lot of folks have, do whatever works for you, do it. But this is again just a demo the way I find this simplest to explain and simplest for us to use. And then down here, we just simply call it Silverado. And again, with Playbook, you may have 200 names depending on your ongoing volume. Now, once you got that, let's sort it, and let's just, for argument's sake, by the way, here we go again, highlight, and then double click between the A and the B, and it spreads all the columns to the width of your text. So let's go, we'll go ahead and sort this, go back to data, we'll hit sort, and I want to get the years. Let's start with the older models and work our way up. So we'll go smallest to largest, hit that, and it just sorted it. So we work 2010 again with a more substantial campaign. That's significant. You can do that. You could sort by salesperson. You could sort by in-market indicator. You can sort by the vehicle status. It's up to you. Just a quick demo. So just one more time, let's go back now and let's look at another vehicle. We'll get all of the vehicles back up there. 1 second, let me cancel that. So let's go with, go back here and let's try cruise. Oh. See what that brings us. That brought us 1. I'm just playing around here. There's all kinds of ways you can do this. I'm going to clear everything. Yeah, so we'll get that. And then let's go see what that does for us. Okay, so this brought us a few more. Let's say we could go with the A and B priority. Again, with Playbook, you'll have a much more substantial number to work with. You hit copy, drop it in here, hit paste, and then you can just name that, obviously, cruise. So you can see the filtering and the sorting functions there. Okay, now I'll do this again, where we spread the columns. And let me go back to the Silverado one. So if you printed this right now, if you chose to do, which many of you do, you like a nice hard copy there, what you have to do is go to page layout, go to orientation, go from portrait to landscape, because otherwise it's going to cut it in half, and as you can see, it's right there. So now what we'll do is go to the print function, and where it says scaling at the bottom, come up and fit all columns 1 page. And again, that puts it where everything is nice and tight on a particular page. But Another thing you can do, because playbook and the manifest do tend to be very wide and wordy. Let me just check chat here, make sure everything's cool. Very good. Um, it's a good thing to use the wrap text function. I'll go to that very quickly. So you go to the home option, you hit wrap text, and then what you can do there is, just as it implies, just squeeze these columns together to where you get a nice, tighter, more printable picture. And it creates each person's name to have a double line. And what a lot of dealers like to do is right here, add a comments block, and then the business development reps, they kind of scribble notes. I notice a lot of you have little codes that you tend to use, which is cool. And then later you go back and drop that into the CRM. Okay, this would be a good column to delete right here. We know there's Chevys. This is a working copy, so there's information you can get rid of. And let's go back here, continue to wrap. And I'll just finish it up with these two right here. Vehicle status. Now the key thing you have to do here is go back and highlight it and make sure you hit that right there, and then that'll create the visual of hypothetically it's supposed to create the visual of the double line to where it actually wrapped the text. So you can see the way that looks right there. And then you can pretty it up a little bit. You do like this. You can put some lines on there, give you some more clarity. You can bold up the top. You can insert and put a title on it to help you, although you probably saved a document, you have a title, but you could call this something like that, and you get the picture. So that's just a basic idea. Is just what we like to do is you can get. So May 2nd, when the zone team comes out and provides us with the incentives, it's a great idea to make the comparison between incentives and your inventory early in the month. Meet with your sales manager, general manager, and talk about how you want to approach it. And then we can build campaigns based on it. Maybe the play, the fast start play, for example, last month with 20% off of Cruise and Malibu. A lot of dealers obviously worked on that, and we built the Cruise and Malibu campaign early in the month and built this left to right technique. So you had a Cruise campaign, you had a Malibu campaign, and you can get into Equinox, whatever else you plan to work on. You kind of go from there. And this should be real good looking printable copy, and it's a good manageable tool for you to use as you go forward. So let me just see anybody. I don't see anything in chat. I've been asked a lot of these questions. Most of you have this down. It's pretty basic stuff, but any questions on kind of this Excel 101, if you will? I mentioned that we're going to talk about setting up a deal, an Excel, as we did. You saw I just typed in a few things. You open it up, the inserting and deleting the columns. You saw how to do that. You just simply highlight it. You either hit the insert or delete button up here toward the top. The filtering data, I showed you there's two places to go for that. It's pretty cool. You get that little arrow box down, and then from there you can utilize that to eliminate or add. I was working with a service manager this morning. We pulled up the service BDC hot list, and I showed him how to do new to manifest, and he went in and clicked it, and it said new to manifest, and we hit all the Y's, and he was like, aha. So every 2 weeks they work it from there. The sorting function, I showed you that, and then of course the left to right technique, which I mentioned works pretty good, and then formatting, setting up your page on that page layout so that you get the landscape orientation and you get your columns all within one page. So that's just an FYI on that. Again, this has been taped, so if you want to go back and refer to it, you're in good shape. So let's jump back now and take this to the next level. Okay, so there we go. I think we accomplished all those different things right there. And I'm a phone call away if I can help. Okay, so manifest to Excel, kind of the next layer of this, if you will. So as you know, we've got, you got your lease pull ahead coming in. We get lease loyalty. You get your hot list, service hot list, sales hot list. You get OnStar reactivation for service departments. We've got the list goes on. There's all kinds of things, different months. Sometimes there's a CSSR touch, sales touch that goes on. So the question is, how do we convert a manifest to an Excel spreadsheet? So you go to Global Connect, obviously, and log in. Once you're in there, in this case, I'm going to take you to Dealer Web Manifest. So we're going to go to the drop-down, Departments drop-down, and select Sales. And then click on that Dealer Web Manifest link. Now this Dealer Web Manifest you find in Sales, but there are service lists in there too. It just happens to be housed under Sales. And then you'll click that Manifest List tab, and that will get you inside where you need to be. And just for this demo, we'll click on the April Chevrolet BDC Hot Manifest. Let's kind of roll through that on how we can manipulate that. Now, obviously, you're not setting it up from scratch. You're just going to export it, but then you have to manipulate the data. Okay, so once you're there, you click on the CSV option. Okay, it's just best. I know a lot of people wonder why we don't go right to Excel. It has to do with the aesthetics of it and the wording. There's a lot of extra wording at the heading, and they put these colors. We find when you go to CSV, you have a real basic spreadsheet, and it flips right over to Excel real nice. Okay, you open the manifest, so you click on the hot list, get to this point, click on CSV, and then obviously just open it up. And then you'll see this spreadsheet right here. This is an actual spreadsheet. I was working with a dealership. They helped me utilize their data this morning, and we just pulled this right here, and that's exactly what you'll see. And it's got a lot of data. So at this point, name the file. Just for demo, we named it April Sales Hot List, and then you save it as an Excel workbook, and that's how you get it into that Excel format. Real clean, real easy to use at this point. And this manifest has 35 columns, original columns. So let's clean that up. Now, I'm not going to torture you by going through it. You saw how I did that. You highlight the letter at the top, then you hit delete and you get rid of it. So we just talked through what would work. So this dealer works the hot list utilizing these columns, left to right. First name, last name, address, city, state. It's kind of optional, if you're not doing a mailer. But some of them like to know where they're from, home phone, email, year, model, program name, etc., all the way to the right. Okay, so this was trimmed down from 35 to 17 columns by eliminating unneeded columns, what this particular dealer perceived as an unnecessary column. Okay, so a note to make is, for some reason, this is an administrative thing coming from GM. Those numbers at the top there mean nothing. I've been asking if we could get rid of those because they are misleading, particularly in the point ranking ones. So just rest assured, these numbers mean nothing, okay? It's like the last 7 cuts, like listing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But the bottom line is just disregard those numbers. They don't really mean anything. Okay, so you can filter out names, for example, that are not new to the manifest. So if you hit new to manifest, you'll have the Y or the N. And now, if you've been working the list, obviously you want to keep the Y, new to manifest, yes. If you have not, I'll use a good example. Dealership in Maryland recently was getting kind of slack with their service BDC hot list. So what we did was we decided to go back and use the left to right technique, and they update every 2 weeks. So we pulled the list, we scrubbed out all the columns, and then we filtered by update. So that we built one tab had the most current, and we worked it back every 2 weeks. And they just kind of got caught up in that manner, went in and checked and made sure there wasn't duplication of effort, but they were able to catch up. Now, when this thing updates in 2 weeks, they'll simply have to go in, click here, they can filter and just new to manifest, yes, boom, and they're in business. They can just work the newly added customers to the hot list. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, and then you can sort by point ranking. Again, disregard the 5-7 at the top, and 5 is the highest. There's no formula like the service list has a definite formula, like they put a point value on unused free maintenance and open recalls. With the sales, it's simply there's an I guess an algorithm that determines the point ranking. 5 being the highest down to 1. So obviously we want to sort this by 5s first, and then 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s, obviously, and work the highest priority. Some of your hot lists have an awful lot of names on them, so it creates for great efficiency if you focus on what we'll call the low-hanging fruit up front. You can then go by program name, lease pull ahead, lease loyalty, playbook, equity, things of that nature. That they're all in there, and it's a good way to break those down. You could do by salesperson's name within that. And there's just these that I just showed you are just general ways to sort. You can do it any way you like. But the point is, I see a lot of people look at these using the hot list, the service hot list and the sales hot list, and they look at the number of names on it to the right, and they're like, my God, like 850 names in some cases, or 200, 300. And like I'm a one-person operation. Well, my advice is, why don't you pull it, save it to Excel, clean up get it down to the bare basics of what you need to communicate with the customer and have an intelligent conversation, and then prioritize it by that point ranking and build into your daily work plan an hour or two a day to work on the hot list, and maybe work those 5s, and then get through those and go down to your 4s and so on. The expectation would be that you're doing your best to get the highest priorities progressively as the month moves on. So wrapping it up, some other stuff to consider. It really has to focus in here on campaigns, and I probably sound like a broken record with this, but I'd ask you to really consider this now, particularly with the month coming up, when we go to May 2nd, and then we're getting the incentives and we're ready to roll. I'd ask you to consider the following actions when you do this, because it's more than just saying, here's the list, pick up the phone and start calling. How dynamic is your dealership in reaching out to the customer? How compelling is the message? Have you created visuals? Does the customer have a feel of what you look like, who you are? Are they familiar with you? There's so many ways you can do these things. There's so many great videos available. There's so much technology available to use. So a good consideration. So let's imagine we get to May 2nd, we come out, and let's say there's 3 vehicles that have really strong incentives on them, and we decide, I get on the phone with you, I visit your dealership, and we decide we're going to approach those 3 vehicles. So we identify in-market, in-equity customers, and then we create a group email blast, however you do that, through your CRM or service, whatever it is. You embed a nice video, one of the General Motors videos, a good message, the deals clearly displayed, and you send that out. Then you follow that with a planned individual phone call contacts. You plan your scripts, voice messages, and actual contact. Now you're banging out those phone calls, inviting them to come in for a test drive and get an appraisal of the vehicle for this exciting new 2018 Equinox or whatever it is you're working on. Then again, include videos where you can. You got GM provided and dealer developed. You can go into your DSA app, and you can go into Showroom and Global Connect. They're almost duplicate. I think there might be an additional couple of videos available on the DSA app. I was playing with this last week, and I think I noticed there is, for instance, a really good Colorado video on the DSA app that I don't think I was able to find in Showroom. In any case, you have plenty available, and develop your own, man. A lot of you dealers out there are doing that sort of thing. Nothing better than that. A very authentic, doesn't have to be long. Just, display your dealership in the best light. Look sharp, look upbeat, look welcoming. and state your message, man. That's powerful stuff. Standing in front of a beautiful new, Equinox or Cruise or Silverado, whatever it is you're trying to sell. And then the group and the individual text messaging. I know a lot of you have different services you're using. Again, if appropriate, I know opt-in requirements are in play in some places. InSolutions, for one, I know has a really strong text function that you can go out and fire a text message out to a large group at a time. What a great way to put your personalized video or your personal e-business card with your picture, or again, using the GM videos and, of course, displaying the deal, the incentive right there front and center to make it real compelling. And again, use that dealer sales assistant, the e-business card, the video is really good, especially if you have a conversation and they're kind of wavering or contemplating. As soon as possible after that, I would send that e-business card again with a dynamic statement about the dealership and the vehicle. And of course, as always, follow up, follow up, follow up. So just something to consider. I hope that was helpful. I'll open it up now to questions. If anybody has any questions, we can use chat. I think it's *6. You'll unmute yourself if you go *6. Anybody? Questiones? Okay, I don't see anything going on there. Hey, give me a call and or an email if I can be of help down the stretch here this week. A lot of dealers and I have been working just through this go-to meeting. I've gone out to visit in a few cases, but I'm more than happy to help you build some campaigns. Not too late. We have, we got 10 days to go, something like that, right? Or a week to go. It's still not too late to reach out to some of these customers. Yeah, we have a week to go. You build those campaigns. No questions? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right. Hey, thank you so much. As always, I'll see you out on the streets. And again, don't hesitate to contact me if I could be of assistance. Have a great day and have a real strong week. Talk soon.